Welcome to Mishna study, Masechet Kilayin, Perek Bet Mishna Zayin. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to speak about adjacent fields. So if a person has his field, let's say he has a field of wheat, and he wants to plant a field of barley next to it. What are some, I would even say like loopholes that the Chamim allow for when planting these that, allow you to, plant in a certain manner and maximize on space. So you have to always remember, and it's important to remember, the deoraita kilayin is if a person takes two seeds, one of barley and one of wheat, and he plants them together b'mapolet yad, in one shot. He plants them together. That's kilayin deoraita. What we're worried about when we're planting fields next to each other is mar'ita ayin. We're worried about it looking like kilayin. And that mar'ita ayin is a concern, but Hachamim allow for certain things when they feel like there is no mar'ita ayin. It doesn't look bad, and they allow it in certain cases. One of those cases is going to be this concept called the Rosh Tor, which we're going to discuss. It's an important Mishnah because Rambam does use this kula, and he's going to use it in the third perek also to explain a certain Mishnah, which many Rishonim had trouble explaining. And he went ahead and applied this concept as well, and it really opened up so much of that explanation, and he was able to explain it brilliantly. So let's get this concept down. Let's jump into adjacent fields in this Mishnah. Right, so a person had a field, and look at this Rosh Tor. Rosh Tor, literally, a Tor, if you go to the etymology of the word, Harambam explains it. A Tor was, we know from Toreh Zahav Na'aselach in Nekudot HaKasef, right? It's an earring. Now, their earrings would be a triangular shape, right? It would be literally like a triangular shaped earring. Imagine, just goes down like a triangle, and that bottom of the triangle, right, is that Rosh Tor. That's the tip of the earring, right? So it's the tip of the Tor. So anytime we're going to use this borrowed term now, anytime we have the tip of an angle, right, the corner, we're going to call it a Rosh Tor. Now, if you see this picture, the top box is wheat, right, and you see how the corner is entering into the field of barley. So we're going to say that's okay, right? If you have this picture, that's okay. Even if they're both yours, it's okay. Why? Because there's no mar'ita ayin, because it looks like two different fields. So because it looks like two different fields, Hachamim allow it, right? Mutar it's good because it looks like it's the end of his field. Now let's say shelo hitim v'shel haviro min acher, right? Oops, jumped it over here. He had wheat. Right? I mean, look at the left side, before one black line, he had wheat. And his friend's field, all the way on the right, that was barley. Now, what about this middle part of the field? It belongs to him. What did I do here? Opposite, sorry. He has on the right, right? You own the right side of the field. The right side of the field is barley. Now, your friend planted all the way on the left. He has wheat. Now, you want to go ahead. This middle part is, you own this middle part, right? Now, technically, you should only be allowed to plant barley. But we say over here, no, you're allowed to plant wheat in the middle because it's adjacent to your friend's field, and it looks like it's part of your friend's field. So even though you own that middle piece, you're allowed to plant wheat over there without separating any distance between your barley and your wheat. Because, why? Because it looks like, right? Let's the language of the Mishnah. Mutar lismoch lemo'ato amin. You're allowed to plant from the same species next to it, right? Why? Because it looks like it doesn't look like two separate. It looks like two separate fields, right? So it doesn't look like kilayin. Of course, it doesn't look like kilayin. Hachamim allow you to plant in that manner. Let's say shelo hitim v'shel haviro hitim. He had wheat a field, and his friend had a wheat field. Okay, so now they're both wheat. And so now you're not allowed to plant anything in between, except for you're allowed to plant, Tanakama says, mutar lismoch lo telem shel pishtan. You're allowed to plant, right? You have your friend has a field, you have a field, you're allowed to go and plant one row of pishtan in the middle without leaving space in between. Why? So they explain over here, Rambam explains over here, because a person, they wouldn't go ahead and no one plants one row of flax seeds. There's nothing you could do with it. You need way more than that for it to be, all right, if you have, planted cherry tomatoes, I understand you could use one row of cherry tomatoes, but flax seeds, you need so much more than that. So if a person's planting one row, he's obviously just testing his field. And there's no marita ayin that someone's planting two different things together. Everyone who sees them knows that he's just testing his field to know that his field will be good, will be able to sustain and produce flax seeds in the future. I just saw a note that it was from Safrai. Safrai is, I guess, more of an academic. He wrote a Pirush on the Mishna as well. And he pointed out that in the 2nd century, they've noted that people, when they would go ahead and plant flax seeds, they were very important in that day. It was a very important, expensive type of seed, and they would only plant it once every 6 years, maybe because the field would only, I guess, the nutrients. So because they were planted so little, they would test the field, and it makes sense that they would test the field to make sure that it was able to sustain and produce these flax seeds. So anyone who sees him in between two fields, he'll know that he's planting these flax seeds for what reason? Only to know if his field will be able to produce it in the following year. And the next part of the Mishnah is an argument. Rabbi Shimon Omer, not just Rabbi Shimon says, right? When it comes to whether you're planting flax seeds or anything else, it's asur. You're not allowed to, you can't plant anything in between. That's how Rambam explains it, right? That they're both asur. And Rabbi Shimon says nothing. You're not allowed to plant anything in between. And Rabbi Yosef Omer, even in the middle of your own field, you're allowed to plant one row of flaxseed. Halacha is not like Rabbi Yosef, not like Rabbi Shimon, rather like Tanakama, that the only time you're allowed to plant flaxseed if it's at the end of your field and you don't have to separate, from it at all.